on the show. We are always grateful for his time, and since we are respectful of his time, we don't want to keep him waiting. He is prompt as always in the chat, or not in the chat.
No, in
that'd
real
be
life.
crazy if he was in the chat.
We don't know.
He's in the on deck circle. He's ready to go, and let's get right to him. Coach, welcome back to the show. We appreciate you joining us. I know y'all have had two long weeks on the road. Y'all are back home. It's got to feel good to get back home. Y'all had a obviously a bump in the road last weekend with getting swept at Auburn. It wasn't a terrible. You didn't play awful. It was just one of those baseball series where you didn't had some opportunities to drive some guys in. Didn't happen. All the games were pretty close, or the last two games were pretty close. Then you play McNeese, who's a really good team. They're playing really good baseball. Before we really get into the weekend a little bit, a recap of the weekend, talk about how important it was for the guys to get back on track, especially against a team. It's probably your toughest home midweek game that you've had so far this year, and y'all played really good baseball. Pitching staff looked good. Talk about last night. How important was it for the guys to kind of get back on track, kind of take a deep breath, and get ready for this weekend?
Yeah, I thought our players did a really good job with the game last night, and we typically don't practice on Mondays after a road series because it's late getting back travel. I thought it was important to get back out on the field, and I want them to move forward, so they have to have something to kind of move forward to. And so we had a good workout on Monday, a little bit different kind of practice, and then we actually worked out again before regular batting practice on Tuesday, and just kind of got reset. And I thought the guys approached the game really, really well. And as you said, we played well in the game, pitched well. A lot of young guys, obviously, which is great to see. But everybody, did their job from the mound last night. And offensively, we had a good night. And looking forward to a good weekend. Yes, it is very good to be back in this ballpark for sure.
Coach, a couple guys last night that I think, they have really shown last few times they've been out there. They've shown a lot of progress, and they've shown, obviously, the potential has been there. Maverick Rizzi had his best outing of the year, 2 1/3, 6 strikeouts. And Myers comes in there, 2 straight outings, no walks, 2 strikeouts, looked electric out there. How important are those two guys, their development for you in the bullpen moving forward down the back half of the SEC, and how much are you going to lean on those guys in the coming weeks?
Yeah, happy to talk about both those guys. I do think both of them are going to be major league pitchers someday, and both are developing very well right now. They've improved their command kind of every time out there. Thought both their fastballs are tough to hit, for different reasons, but they're putting them where they want to right now. Thought Maverick did a great job of landing the slider last night, and again, another good performance by Jacob. I'd really been close to being touched or any kind of adversity in the last couple outings, and very happy for him, and it's a really good sign for us.
Yep. Coach Jared's got a question for you.
Yeah, Coach, I want to ask kind of a little bit about you and kind of maybe some insight on you as far as for how you deal with and how you go through the ebbs and flows of the season. When you go through, or your teams go through, like the lows of the year, how do you deal with it in terms of, is there systems that you have in place now? And has those systems kind of been in place for a while, or are these things that kind of transformed and grown throughout your coaching career?
Wow, get a little personal there. Honestly. No, I mean, it's 47 years old, whatever, into this thing, and it's still tough, man.
Yeah.
I do not do well with it, but you have to separate two things. It's like you can't have the success and the winning and feel good about it if you're not willing to throw yourself into the battle, and sometimes you're going to lose. And in SEC baseball, you're going to. I think Texas is the only team that has not lost a series in our league, and we're only halfway through this thing. So that kind of tells you everything you need to know. But, more than anything, I preach to the players, or try to impart on the players, you have to master the ability to move on. Whether you're playing well or you lose and have some adversity. And so I have to model that. I mean, I can talk about it, but if I don't do that and make everybody's life around here miserable. Like it's not going to work. Like it's just not how players are built today. I think kind of what I do is, like I said, the only way I know how to do it, and I told them this after the game is Sunday, is get back to work. Yeah. And we're going to practice on Monday, and it's going to be a little bit different to kind of, I don't want to say shock the system, but like get us recalibrated, re-engaged on what's made us a great team, because I've coached a lot of great teams, and I don't know, man, that I've had one, even the national championship team in 23 that played as consistently close to their potential for as many games over almost 2 months than this team has. And like, you can't forget that. You can't let them forget that. And so we talked about that, recalibrated on some of the issues that we needed to be better at, and then put together a little better plan and get recommitted to that plan. And then you just go attack. Yeah. And it's not going to guarantee success. It's not. But, a poor response to adversity is a real way of, dropping yourself into failure. And that's not happening with me or our team. And I will say, I did learn a lot from, that really tough stretch last year where we played Arkansas and Tennessee both on the road, and they both were the number one team in the country at the time that we played them. And, kind of just staying with it and how we were able to come out the other side by staying with what I'm talking about. I think that can be very valuable for this team and the players on this team. So, personally, misery. I try to do my best to move forward, because that's what the players have to do, or it's not going to work for any of us.
Honestly, I love that you bring this stuff up, because I do think, and it's not that you care, and obviously you shouldn't care, because you have a job to do and you go about doing that job. But I do think it's pretty cool, because a lot of people, like, we get here, we ask a lot about the players, and everyone wants to know about the players, but then we see this. You don't see this. I hope you don't see this. We see this, how much everyone complains about what decisions are or are not being made. And it's like, hey, y'all do realize, like, this is his job. Like, he doesn't show up at the field at 6:30 for a 7 o'clock game and then leave at 11 when it's over. Like, this is what that man does. So, like, kind of put some faith behind decisions that are being made. Understand they're being made for reasons. He lives this. So it's kind of cool to hear your process about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's part of it here. And I tell the players this all the time. Like, this is a really cool place. And I want to say thank you to the fans that showed up last night. Like, that was really important for our players. Because there's really no such thing as unconditional love nowadays in sport. You win and you're loved and they're behind you. But our fans were great last night. And that really is important for the young players on our team. To feel supported. I know they were energized by getting back home and in front of them. But yeah, that's just part of it. And I explain it to people all the time. Like, you can't have it both ways. Like, you can't have this great crowd of like 13,000 people and, have people not upset when you don't win or you don't play well or whatever. It's just not realistic. You can't have both. And that's why this place isn't for everybody. It's not for every coach, and it's not for every player, and that's just part of it. But I'll take the support all day, every day, and I know what happens in the building on a daily basis with our coaches and players. And I think if anybody from the outside got to shadow this, I think they'd be very comfortable with the preparation and understand a little bit more about what happens in the game.
Coach, staying on that topic, right? This past weekend, what happened as far as, not scoring the runs that were, you anticipated or what you've been doing? The ebbs and flows of the season, we try to tell people this all the time. There's going to be moments in the season where guys are just not feeling great. That's just the way baseball works. You're going to feel great, then you're going to have a couple weekends where you're not feeling great. When that happens, and it just so happens to be where there's multiple guys in the lineup that are doing that in the same weekend, and you come back and you get recalibrated and you have these processes, is there something that you do with these guys to get them back on track, right? Everybody's a little different. I had certain processes that got me back on track. Jared got certain processes that had him back on track. Is there something that you try to emphasize or work on with these guys, or is it a case-by-case basis based off the way each player reacts?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think I have a lot of individual meetings. Like that's one thing I do just to like really make sure the communication between the player and myself is in a good spot. And so that the expectations or the path forward or path back to where they want to go is clear. So I had a few of those. I wouldn't say I didn't meet with everybody on the team, but probably 5-6 guys I met with on Monday and Tuesday. And then, I really believe like when you want to get back on track, like clarity and being simple is really, really important. And, we kind of, at least offensively, because that was the area that we struggled the most in. Right. We have a pretty clear path to how we set this thing up, going back from August 26th, like literally from day one, and one thing builds off of another. And when you get into the course of the season, and as you mentioned, maybe you don't feel as good or you're tired, and that fatigue can crack you a little bit. And then if your plan's not strong, then you leave yourself vulnerable. And then there's a little bit of a confidence deal that comes in, and these things can kind of pile on top of you a little bit. And so we really went back to some really simple principles and core fundamentals that this team has been good at. Like again, that's the thing. Like we only had to search back 72 hours before to go like, hey man, this is like one of the best starts and one of the best programs in the great college baseball's history. Like that was 72 hours ago. And do we want to play better? Yeah. Are we happy with what happened? No. But part of moving forward is analyzing, okay, what can we control? What can we do about this? And it usually starts with how you think. And so a lot of individual meetings, simplify the plan. Like I said, we adjusted practice a little bit, and I thought we were ready to play last night. And we beat a team that was number 26 in the RPI coming into the game. So that's a valuable win as far as the things that this team wants to accomplish. And then now you're back in another, let's just call it what it is. Every weekend in our league is a super regional. 100%. So we're back to another super regional weekend this weekend.
Coach, I don't want to dwell too much on last weekend, but I do want to talk about some of the positive stuff. Obviously, it was, in my opinion, it was kind of an anomaly of a weekend, right? Cade Anderson, he's been lights out for the majority of the year. Obviously, that was kind of a one-off start for him. The bullpen was kind of the silver lining, and that's kind of what I want to get to. They were able to keep you in games on Saturday and Sunday and give you an opportunity to make runs at the back end of games and potentially win. Obviously, it didn't work out that way, but leading up into this weekend, the question was, who else are they going to rely on outside of Cowan and Evans? And the bullpen threw really well over the weekend. They continued that last night. Can you talk a little bit about the development of the bullpen and the development of some guys that are starting to kind of raise their level of play going into the back half of the SEC?
Yeah, happy to. And I do think that was a positive. And again, when I talk about if you were to, peel this thing back so everybody could see the work that gets put in, you can look at a Jacob Myers and be really optimistic about that. You can look at a Maverick Rizzi and be really optimistic about that. You can look at Cooper Williams. Yep. Connor Benj continues to excel in the little role that we have him, in. Connor Ware, got it out last night. And all those guys, performed well at Auburn. And then again, Zach and Kaysen did their job. And again, if I was to look at that Auburn series, Friday night and Saturday, well, I'll say this. Friday night, we got beat in an SEC baseball game. Right. Like Auburn just deserved to win. Saturday, if we come up with a catch or two in the outfield, it might be a different game. Right. It really might be a different game. So instead of, torching the whole team for, we're soft and terrible stuff, like let's talk about, we did hit some balls hard with runners on base. They made the plays. We didn't come up with a couple fly balls, and their leadoff man, smashed a homer to dead center field on a breaking ball. So you have to, they won the game. Sunday was the only one I thought that was there for the taking, and we did not do it. And I think it was a good learning experience. And I think whatever the reason was, mental fatigue, frustration, failure, I think we'll be better, for having lived through that and having to grind through that. And like I said, we have guys on the team that have been through that before, which that's actually a real positive thing. Yep. And I think we saw a little bit of that last night. I would never say like, oh, they got it figured out and all of that because we won a midweek game. I would never do that. But the elements that we can control that can lead to positive play, I've seen those, for 3 days. And until you get on the field, like that's all I can go off of. And I'm excited. I'm excited to compete this weekend. And I'm always excited to compete with these guys that are on our team.
Coach, speaking of competing, now I know today is your deep film day and the day you dive into that aspect of the game. But there's one player on this team that it's kind of hard not to have seen or kind of noticed some of the stuff he's done this year. Are you as surprised with kind of like, you can almost call it a meteoric rise that Justin LeBron has had this year and the way he's played and the way he's transitioned into year 2 and how that looks going into the weekend?
Yeah, for sure. And, ironically, Alabama and us have played a very similar schedule. And we've, like in the cross scouting of, whether it was not Mississippi State, Oklahoma was one of them. I feel like I've seen him twice when I've been watching 2 of our opponents, whoever that was. And he's a really talented player. And you could see this last year as a freshman. Like he moves like those dudes that they pay a lot of money to that we all on TV. And, I will say I've been very impressed by the improvement in his baseball skill. That's not an athlete out there. That's a terrific athlete that's a really good ball player now. Yeah. And so, one of the better players in the league, and which means in the country. And we'll have to neutralize him offensively. And he's certainly a great defensive player also.
Coach, one thing you did last night that, you shook up the lineup a little bit, kind of changed the order of the lineup. Is that something just to kind of say, hey, let's try something different? You said y'all made some moves, made some changes. Is that here to stay, or is that just going to be a case-by-case basis? Kind of give us some insight into the decision and how you like the structure of the lineup.
Yeah, I think how the players execute in the game is more important than what order that I actually put them in, although we do put a lot of emphasis into that. So last night was really about last night. Yeah. Last week against the University of Houston, McNeese won a tight game against a Big 12 team, and they used 10 pitchers in a 10-inning game. And, so there was some right, left. You saw some sidearm guys, sinker ball guys. I wanted to set it up in a way that we wouldn't have to maybe pinch hit too early if we needed to, but we could be set up where we were able to do it, to make sure we were matched up properly. And so literally, like I said, you go 72 hours for me without winning a ball game. Sometimes that feels like there's no oxygen for 72 hours. So it was really about setting us up to win last night. Alabama is doing something a little different with their rotation this weekend. So that's got a deep dive into that, and may or may not be the same. I'm just not ready to make that call yet. But like I said, I don't think Danny Dickinson cares if he is first, second, third, fourth, whatever. I don't think Derek Carriel cared if he gets second instead of first. These guys aren't major league players.
Correct.
And they are winners though, and they care, and they wanted to play well in the game last night, and they did. And so looking forward to seeing them execute a good plan tomorrow night.
Coach, I do have a question, because once again, it's kind of like educating, if you will. When you look at Luis Hernandez and what he was asked to do last year and how much more he's obviously catching this year, can you speak to where he is in terms of getting his legs under him and getting used to doing that? Not only doing that, but doing that down here in this heat. It kind of turned into a different thing as well. But doing that on this level and catching as much as he has compared to what he did last year, and what that's like trying to produce as well offensively.
Well, I think for 4 weekends of SEC play, and again, I haven't looked at the whole league. There's so many teams now, like I couldn't tell you, but offensively, and I'm going through the Missouri series, the Texas series, the Mississippi State series, and Oklahoma series for sure. Like he was doing it offensively, like doing it at a high level, and he did it just like the rest of the guys. He had a tough weekend this weekend at Auburn. I'm really proud of how well he's caught. We haven't giving up a lot of runs. I mean, I know everybody wants us to throw a shutout every game. Nobody more than me. But I believe the quality of his catching has been a big part of that. And then, he's a little bit under the weather, which makes it even more impressive. We had a little bug going through our team. So he actually had to catch again last night. And we took him out at the end of the 6th inning, and I grabbed one of the trainers and was like, "Hey man, if you don't go take care of this dude right now, you're fired." Because this was a beastly effort, that he gave us tonight. I actually am going to call him to check in on him here after I'm done with you guys, and we got a lot of IVs and all those things running through Luis today to get him recalibrated.
There you go,
Coach. I think we brought this up after the Texas weekend, but after a weekend that you have, do you like? I mean, you talked about getting back on track and getting back and going. You don't like to have a lot of break. The 2 weekends that y'all have lost, the next week was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series, so you do have to get back on there. There's not a lot of time to kind of dwell on the losses. Do you like that? Do you like the way that's set up? Obviously, you're not saying, hey, we can lose this game because we got a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. It's just the way it's kind of worked out. Do you like being able to get back on there really quick?
I think it can help, but I mean, honestly, it's just like, it's not the thing or the situation, the circumstance, it's how you choose to look at it. And, I don't know. I mean, would I love to play every game at home at 6:30 on Friday, Saturday, Sunday? I probably would, but that's not how it goes. And because you guys were awesome and winning titles, and, there's stud players that have played here forever, and the program, ESPN wants to put us on TV.
Right.
So we're on TV a lot, which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and that's awesome. So I think it's just how you look at it. Other than making sure the pitching's lined up, I don't pay it much mind, is what I will say. Just making sure we're lined up pitching wise, and it does make the Tuesdays trickier. Fortunately for us, we've scored a lot of runs on Tuesdays, including last night. So I haven't had to overextend anybody, and we're creating more depth in the staff. So that's been a real positive. And, the fact that we haven't had to ask a couple of those guys that are pitching a lot on the weekend to pitch on Tuesdays at all really has been great.
Yeah.
Coach, over a long weekend like this past weekend was, does the orange juice consumption go up or does it go down?
Yeah, no, I mean, I got blown way out of proportion too.
Not LSU fans.
During I've tried to do a better job of, obviously within the weekend, if you lose a game, you have another one coming, so you got to get ready and whatnot. And I'll be honest, we got home on Sunday. It's a good flight home. I mean, other than we lost 3 games, but I was so tired, I fell asleep immediately on Sunday night and woke up very refreshed tomorrow, or Monday, whatever it was. That's just, it's just like I said, the losing thing for me is it's not a good place. It was just
that's good. That's what we need.
And look, I would hope so. I hope you're not, hey, we lost. It's okay. I hope that obviously
pizza and ice cream.
Yeah, that's what makes you such a good coach, is that obviously every game matters and you want to win. You're competitive, and that's part of it. It's a long season. It's a long SEC is a grind. You just mentioned it. Every weekend's basically a super regional game. Y'all are 10-5 in conference. Y'all are right there. All the goals that y'all had set for the end of the season are right in front of you. You have the really tough conference games ahead of you. A lot of them are at home, which obviously is a good thing. I think people don't realize that, they look at it in a microscope right now, but you're halfway through the SEC. And 2023, y'all were 19-10 in conference. Y'all are 10-5 right now. Y'all are on pace to better that this season. Talk about obviously everybody knows how tough the SEC is, but talk about the grind of the season and how important it is to, be in the moment and look towards that, because getting swept one weekend isn't the end of the season. Sweeping a series isn't going to make you win the SEC. It's a week in, week out thing. Talk about how difficult that is, and obviously y'all have navigated that beautifully over the last few years.
Yeah, I think I've gotten a few pieces of good advice about it. One was from a coach in the league and he wasn't trying to help me or LSU out. He just kind of said it hey man, you're going to take a punch. And what he meant by taking a punch is you're going to get swept on the road by somebody, because one of the 5 teams you're playing on the road, actually probably 4 of the 5 teams you play on the road is capable of winning the national title. So not dwelling on that is really, really important. It's really, really important. And then, the other piece is just you can't look at all the games. You have to just look at this game and these games. And, it's why I kind of came up with the saying, the regular season here for us is a 56-game playoff. And I think our team this year has done a great job of respecting the game and respecting all the games. We didn't particularly play well on offense last weekend. Other than that, kind of hard to get into what these guys have not done, because there's not much, to be honest with you. And so I like what I said. It's important to me is, what did Monday look like? What did Tuesday prep look like? What did the practice today look like? What did the coaching staff look like in our meeting in the morning? These player meetings that I'm talking about, what we're trying to execute on the field, the confidence of the players, leadership, starting to emerge, like I said, Jared Jones, tough weekend last weekend from a performance standpoint, but it's Sunday at Auburn and he's on the bench trying to keep everybody going.
Yeah.
When there wasn't a whole lot to get anybody going, so just got to stick with it. And it's a beast, man. There's big leaguers all over the league. Yep. There's tough teams. There's deep pitching staffs. There's power. There's tough road environments. You just got to kind of hang in there and play baseball. And the one thing that's good at is playing baseball.
It's the best, in my opinion, it's the best the SEC has ever been. It's the deepest it's ever been, most talented it's ever been. And so, we're looking forward to you obviously getting back, as you are. We don't want to keep you too long. I know you're getting into it. You got to check on Luis, make sure he's getting hydrated with the IVs. I respect that. I don't want to keep you away from that. But we're looking forward to watching this weekend, obviously Easter weekend. I always enjoyed that as a player. You get the Thursday, Friday, Saturday series usually on Easter. So good luck this weekend. We're obviously going to be watching you. I know you're happy to be home for the next 2 weekends with Alabama and Tennessee. So good luck, and we'll talk to you again next week.
All right, guys. Have a great night.
Yep, you too.
Here you go.